So y'all know, Butterick just dropped their summer patterns today. As of the recording of this video, it is May the 7th. And y'all, it's only 13 patterns that I'm going to get through. So this video is pretty much going to be short, sweet, and to the point. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Hey everyone, I'm Rochelle. I'm the girl that gives you all the pattern sales, sew-alongs, and behind the scenes of any and everything in between. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the Butterick patterns that just dropped, 13 of those that just dropped that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. I'm not going to be sharing any type of kids pattern, hat patterns, accessory pattern, costume pattern. We're not doing any of that. We are just strictly showing adult garment or apparel patterns. That's the only patterns that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. Is 13 of those. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so in this video, the Butterick patterns run from Butterick 7037 to like 7054, I believe. I'm gonna correct it up on the screen if I am incorrect. So let's go ahead and dive right on into the first pattern, being Butterick 7037. All of these are Butterick patterns, so I'm gonna just say the number from here on out. So Butterick 7037 is a missus dress pattern. It's fitted midi dress sewing pattern and half front button opening, collared neckline, waistband with top stitching, gathered skirt, and a side seam pocket. Now view A dress has contrast at the collar, and view B is just normal. One thing about this dress, it is sleeveless, so for me, I would add a sleeve on. This dress does remind me of another pattern that I'm thinking of. I think it's a McCall's pattern, to be 100% honest, but I'm not completely sure of the pattern number because it is an older pattern that I'm thinking of from like 2016. If I find the pattern, which I probably will not before I edit this video, I'll put it up on the screen so you're able to see that. Now this pattern has separate pattern pieces for cup sizes. Cup size A and B, and then you have C, and then the last one is D cup sizes. Now this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing for the pattern envelope, it's 8 to 16 on the first pattern and 18 to 26 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabrics, you can use cotton blends, denim, linen, and twill, just to name a few. You're going to need lightweight fusible interfacing and 10 3/4 inch buttons for both views, okay? So don't skip out on that as well. But once again, that pattern number is 7037. Now, I'm on the fence for this pattern, and the reason why is because I have a lot of shirt dress pattern. I don't feel like I need this pattern, but you never know when it comes to the drop, because I can say that now and then later on when I'm thinking about it, when a sale happened, I could pick it up. But as of right now, I don't think I'm going to pick this up. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to pick this up. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, 7038. So 7038 is the missus dress and tie belt pattern. This is a line midi length fit and flare dress pattern, and it's close fitting through the bust. It has notch collars, button front opening, side seam pockets, a hem band, which is nice, tight belt, and thread loops. And the thread loops is for you to create belt loop. They serve as belt loops for you to put your belt in. Now view A comes with a purchase bias trim. You have to purchase that trim if you want that detail. Now I like this dress, but I don't feel like I need this dress in my wardrobe because I can literally take another pattern and just put some trim on it, if I'm being honest. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first pattern envelope and 16 to 24 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use lightweight denim, linen blends, just to name a few there. You're also gonna need some lining fabric. Make sure you use the same weight as, I would say, make sure you use something light for a lining. You're gonna need some fusible interfacing, lightweight fusible interfacing, that is. And then in terms of notions for both views, you're gonna need 8 3/4 inch buttons. If you are doing view A, which is where you have that trim, you're going to need to purchase 3 packs of a 1/2 inch single fold bias tape and also 3 packs of a 1/2 inch double fold bias tape. So you're going to need both if you are doing view A, which is the dress with the trim. Once again, it's 7038. Let's go ahead and move over to the next one, 7039. So for 7039, it's another Mrs. Dress pattern. This one is a tiered dress. It has collar bands, a split neckline, drop shoulders, 3/4 length sleeves with barrel cuffs, and a slit opening at the leg. Now, view B has contrast that you could color block it if you choose to. Now, this pattern is a pattern that I will be picking up. It also reminds me of a pattern I have done before, which is McCall's 8035. The difference for this one is more so a button-down shirt, but it does have a placket. The placket area reminds me of a pattern that I have a sew-along for, which is Simplicity 9744. Similar to that, except for the fact that it does not have a button placket. It's just an open placket there, okay? Now, the tiers also reminds me of McCall's 8035. So if you really wanted to do this pattern, I think you could take, if you don't want to just purchase this pattern, you can take the tiers from McCall's 8035 and pair it with Simplicity 9744. But just make sure that pair it with something where you do not have to do that button placket that's there. I remember doing that as well. But I do like this pattern, but let's go ahead and get into the skill level as well as the pattern sizing. So in terms of the skill level, it is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 4 to 12, and 14 to 22 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, lawn, shearsucker, challis, just to name a few. You will need some lightweight fusible interfacing. And then in terms of the notions, the only thing that you're going to need is one 12-inch invisible zipper. Now for me, I would use a little bit longer than a 12-inch just for me, but you can use whatever size that works for your liking. Once again, this pattern number is 7039, and I will be picking that pattern up. Let's go ahead and move over to the next one, being 7040. So 7040 is a Mrs. and Mrs. Petite knit dress in 2 lengths. It is close fitting, sleeveless wrap dress pattern. It has a sash that ties around the waist, bra shelf, which is also great, okay, and a narrow hem. This is an easy to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first pattern envelope and 18 to 26 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk notions and fabric. So first, fabric, you're going to need any type of knit, whether that's cotton knit, ITY, or interlock jersey, rib knit, just to name a few. Ponte knit will work for this one as well. In terms of notions, for both views, you're going to need some elastic. That's a 1/4 inch elastic, and you're also going to need 3/4 inch elastic as well for this one. Now, one thing about Butterick 7040, it reminds me of, I think it was Brandy Jones pattern. The only difference is it doesn't have that cutout in the back. It also reminds me of another pattern that's similar to a Mimi G pattern. I don't remember the pattern number off the top of my head, and I'm pretty good with pattern numbers, but it is an older pattern. So if I think of it, I'll put it up on the screen. Now, most of these did not remind me of another pattern right off the bat, like another McCall or another Butterick pattern, but it's similar. So I can tell you what it's similar to. If I remember the pattern number, I'll put it up on the screen during the editing process, all right? So let's go ahead, and once again, that pattern number is 7040. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, which is 7041. So 7041 is the Mrs. and Woman's shirt, which I will be picking up this pattern. The last pattern, 7040, I don't think I'm gonna pick it up, but it is a possibility on that one. So 7041 is a very loose fitting shirt pattern. It has concealed button front opening, a front patch pocket, band collars, wide 3/4 length sleeves with pleats and button cuffs. It also has like a shape high-low style hem with side slits as well. Now this pattern is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 10 to 18 on the first one and 20W to 28W on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabrics first, You can use cotton shirting, gingham, which I have in my stash, linen blends, and sheer sucker, just to name a few. You're going to need some lightweight fusible interfacing, and then for both views, you're going to need 11 half-inch buttons as well. So I do like this top. I'm going to be picking this top up as well, but once again, it's 7041. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 7042. So 7042 is a Mrs. Pants pattern by Palmer and Pletch. And this one does remind me of a pattern that I have seen before. But just to get into this pattern, it is a fitted pants sewing pattern that have a curved waistband, front pin tucks, and invisible zipper closure. This pattern, view A pants, have back pockets and side slits at the leg. It makes it an outfit with the matching jacket from Butterick 7026. That is the jacket that you can pair with these pants. Now, one thing that I want to mention, this pattern does remind me of a previous Butterick pattern. I don't remember the number off the top of my head. I could see it in my head, and I should have literally wrote down what it's similar to before sitting down, but I did not. I came straight from work to do this video for you guys, all right? This is an average to sew pattern. So in terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first pattern envelope, and 18 to 26 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabrics, you can use crepe, double face knit, jacquard knit, ponte knit, just to name a few. You need some fusible knit interfacing, and then in terms of the notion, you need 1 7-inch invisible zipper. That zipper is going to be going in the back of your pants, so be mindful of stabilizing your zipper area when you put your zipper in. But once again, this pattern is 7042. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, 7043. So 7043 is Mrs. Pant pattern. This pattern is semi-fitted pull-on pants pattern. It have elastic drawstring waist, exposed seams with the raw edges, and then it also features front patch pockets with top stitching and length variation. Now, this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, that's 1 pattern envelope, extra small to extra large on that pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, any type of knit fabric, whether that's cotton knit, French terry, interlock, lightweight sweatshirt fleece, just to name a few. In terms of notions, you're going to need some non-roll elastic at 2-inch. So 2-inch non-roll elastic, or you could use, or if you want to do 2 rows of casing like I normally do, I would use 1-inch non-roll elastic instead of 2. But it's up to you how you decide that. And you're also going to need some twill tape or ribbon as well. Now, this pattern right here, 7043, I'm on the fence with it because I don't feel like I need more pant patterns. I have a lot. I could just literally take a pattern that's very similar to this one and then just hack it for what I like, all right? I'm not a big fan of those patch pockets in the front. I like inseam pockets, which would be a modification that I would make for myself because I'm not a fan of patch pockets on the front of my pants, but to each his own, all right? But once again, it's 7043. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, 7044. So 7044 is a Mrs. Skirt pattern, which I am going to be picking up this pattern. It is in 2 lengths. So this pattern is a flared skirt pattern in midi or evening length that's going to go all the way down to your ankles. It has ruffle edge, curved seams, elastic back, and a side seam pocket. Now this is an easy to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first pattern envelope and 18 to 26 on the second pattern envelope. In terms of fabric, you can use chambray, linen, poplin, sateen, just to name a few. You're going to need some lightweight fusible interfacing. And then in terms of notions, you're going to need 2 yards of a 1/2 inch elastic if you are doing both views, either one, A or B. And then if you are doing view A, you're going to need 2-inch horsehair braid for that one as well. Now I'm going to be picking this pattern up. I like this pattern. It's easy to sew. If you need another skirt and you want to make it in solid, this pattern is for you. But once again, it's 7044. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, being 7045. So 7045 is the Mrs. and Mrs. Petite top, shorts, and pant pattern. This would be good for a wardrobe builder, but this pattern is a button front top pattern that has collar, bubble sleeves with elasticated cuffs, and a shirt tail hem. The shorts and pant pattern have side pockets, waistband with a fly front zipper, and hook and bar closure. Now this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first pattern envelope and 18 to 26 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, linen, gingham, poplin, just to name a few. You will need some lining fabric, and the lining fabric is for the pant pockets, which is more so like a pocket pattern piece or whatever. I'm just gonna say use the same fabric. You're also gonna need some lightweight fusible interfacing. Now, if you are doing view A, the top or the shirt, you're gonna need 7 5/8 inch buttons. If you are doing view B or C, which are your shorts and pants, you're going to need a 7-inch exposed or all-purpose zipper, not an invisible zipper, because you're gonna be doing a fly front, and then you're also going to need a hook and bar closure as well to keep your pants closed. I like this pattern. I'm gonna be picking it up. I feel like this would be a great 2-piece set, whether I'm doing the shirt and the shorts or the shirt and the pants, or all 3. You can mix and match how you see fit with this pattern. Once again, this pattern is 7045. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, 7046. So 7046 is the Mrs. and Women's top and pant pattern. I like this pattern. I'm going to be picking this up to put in my work wardrobe patterns, okay? But this pattern is a sleeveless button top pattern. It's lined, fitted through the bust. It has a square neckline, princess seams, and inseam pockets for the pants. Now the wide leg pant pattern have a waistband, back invisible zipper, and hook and bar closure as well, which I find that to be optional when you have an invisible zipper. This is an average sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 10 to 18 on the first one, and 20W to 28W on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use gabardine, linen, sateen, just to name a few. You're gonna need some lining fabric for the top. You're also going to need some lightweight fusible interfacing as well. In terms of notions for view A, the top, you're gonna need 6 7/8 inch buttons. And then for view B, the pants, you're gonna need 1 7-inch invisible zipper, as well as a hook and bar closure. Now this pattern will be great if you are in, corporate America, you need a work wardrobe. I would say this pattern is definitely for you. Now, if you guys remember when I took a basic pattern like this and literally just add some sleeves on that thing and made it sing, if you guys remember that new look pattern that I did, I think the pattern number is 6781. I'll put it up here so you're able to see it. You could do the same thing. If you are not a fan of sleeveless top like myself, you could throw on some sleeves and make it something completely different and make it go from a basic pattern to a elevated pattern, okay? So that's an option that you can do. But once again, that pattern number is 7046 for the Butterick pattern. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, Butterick 7047. So 7047 is the Mrs. robe in 2 lengths and a pair of pants. Now, I'm on the fence with this one because I don't need another robe pattern, but let's get into it. This is a loose fitting robe pattern. It has front ties, patch pockets, and length variation. It also features wide leg cropped pants. It have elastic waist and side seam pockets as well. It is an easy to sew pattern. So in terms of sizing, it's 1 pattern envelope, and that's small to extra, extra large on that pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabrics for this pattern, you can use challis, chambray, linen, rayon, just to name a few. You're also gonna need some lightweight fusible interfacing. And then view A and view B, which are your robes, it is a no notion pattern. Yeah, write that down. No notion pattern. And then for view C, which are your pants, you're gonna need some elastic for that elastic casing. Now, you guys also know that I always say for elastic pants, I do not use just one roll of elastic. I always do two. Now, for the elastic, it says to do 1 1/4 inch elastic, which means that my casing needs to be at least, okay? I'm saying at least a 1/2 inch. So the first casing, well, I'm going to create a stitching along that casing at a 1/2 inch, right? And then insert the bottom. I normally do the bottom elastic casing first. Insert the 1/2 inch elastic all the way around, secure it, and then do the top. And then I have 2 rows of elastic simply because I need some support and some security. Okay? So that 2 rows of 1/2 inch will be great. All right. All right. I wouldn't do 5/8 of an inch because that 5/8 and 5/8 is 1 1/4, which means that I do not leave myself any room and it may get stuck. So that's why I'm saying a 1/2 of an inch instead of 5/8 of an inch. All right. But let's go ahead and get over to the next pattern. The next pattern is 7048, which I'm going to be skipping because it's a child pattern, as well as 7049, 7050, and 7051. So let's go ahead and talk about 7052, which is now a vintage pattern. And this is the 1960s Mrs. Dress and Jacket pattern. It is a vintage sailor collar dress and jacket pattern. So view A is a sleeveless dress with full unpressed box pleats, okay, on that skirt. Now, it also features like a big sailor collar and self belt for this one. It has a contrast line and braided trim waist length jacket as well for view A. Now, view B is just a sheath dress there. Short sleeve jacket bound to match the dress. This is a authentic vintage reproduction pattern as well, which tells me that it might run small, but we'll see about the sizing. This is an average to sew pattern. Now, in terms of sizing, it's actually not bad in the sizing. It's 8 to 16 on the first pattern envelope and 18 to 26 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you could use check, you could use crepe, jersey, linen, poplin, just to name a few, including some silky cottons as well. You're also going to need some lining fabric if you are doing view A, which is the coat or jacket. You're also going to need some lightweight fusible interfacing, or you can use non-fusible interfacing as well. In terms of the notions for both views for the dress, view A and view B, you're going to need 14-inch zipper and some seam binding. In addition, if you are doing view A jacket, you're going to need 3.5 yards of a 1/2 inch fold over braid. Okay, if you don't know what that is, definitely look it up for sure. All right, but that pattern is 7052. Let's go ahead and move over to the last pattern as part of the Butterick summer drop for 2025, and that pattern is 7053. So 7053 is the 1960s Mrs. Jumper skirt, shorts, and blouse pattern. You can use this as a whole wardrobe set for sure. So this is a vintage Butterick 1960s sportwear coordinate pattern. It is more so a wraparound skirt and jumper line to edge. The blouse and short pattern. You have some top stitching trim going on as well. Like I mentioned, it is a authentic vintage reproduction pattern as well. It is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes. The first one is 6 to 14, and the second one is 16 to 24 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use any type of cotton, whether that's broadcloth, you can use cotton blends if you want, you can use gabardine, poplin, just to name a few. You will need some lining fabric, which will be your cottons, your broadcloth, just to name a few there. In terms of interfacing, you're going to need some lightweight fusible interfacing. And then in terms of notion, for the dress, you do not need any notion. It is a no notion pattern for the dress, okay? In terms of the shorts, you're going to need a 7-inch all-purpose zipper and 3 hook and eye closures, okay? Now, if you are doing the blouse, you're going to need 3 buttons and 1 small snap. That's all the notions that you're going to need in order to do this pattern, okay? Now, this pattern I'm on the fence for. I might go ahead and pick this one up, but once again, it's 7053. All right, so that's all 13 patterns that dropped with Butterick for the summer collection 2025. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If this video was educational, inspiring, and fun, you guys know what to do. Give your girls a thumbs up on this video. Share this video with someone who can use this information, of course. Comment in the comment section below and let me know which patterns were your favorite and which patterns will you be picking up on the next simplicity.com sale. And do what's free, and that's subscribe. Because you know you've been here a couple of times and you haven't subscribed yet. If you haven't, what the hell are you waiting for? Because it's free. All right? Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, keep sewing.